Tonight on Let It Rip.
Well, you've heard my father-in-law say we want it released. We want full and complete transparency for the American people.
Why raid the ex-president's Florida home? And how much more will we really learn about the reason for the FBI's probe? The controversy is pitting an already divided country against one another. So what can be done to bring the temperature down? But first,
the question would be like a 14-year-old who, let's say, is a victim of abuse by an uncle.
Yeah, perfect example.
Tudor Dixon says this ad took her words out of context. She says she was talking about why that's a perfect example of how a constitutional ballot amendment wouldn't go far enough to protect young victims of rape. What else Dixon says about the race against Governor Gretchen Whitmer. A conversation with Dixon starts right now. Let me ask you this. Why not let the voters of Michigan decide on this if this becomes a ballot initiative, which it will likely become, with almost 800,000 signatures on a ballot petition? Doesn't that tell you where Michigan voters stand on this, that they want to decide, not politicians alone?
And that's what we've said. This is a decision for the people. The people will make that decision, and we will follow the law. You will always hear me say that I will follow the law no matter what. That has been my position. That's why I've tried to explain to people what the ballot initiative is. And ultimately, if that's not what passes, the people still have a voice in this state. We do have constitutional amendments. We do have ballot initiatives. And there is the opportunity for the legislature to pass bills with a 2/3 vote. That's something that the people should talk to legislators about, the people who make laws. Governor Whitmer is trying to make this race about abortion when she actually has no control over that topic.
Well, let's talk for a moment about the abortion issue, though. Where do you stand right now when it comes to rape, incest, and life of a mother? There are many women who are watching this right now who say, wait a minute, do I want to vote for a woman who doesn't consider those factors when making a decision about abortion?
Certainly, I do consider those factors. I've been very clear about my position. I do not approve of, I am pro-life with exceptions for life of the mother. I think it's very important that people understand when they see these commercials saying that I don't believe in life of the mother, that's not true. I've made it very clear. Health of the mother and life of the mother are two different things. Anytime the mother's life is in danger, all of these fake stories about if you have an ectopic pregnancy, if you have any type of issue that's not covered, it absolutely is. In fact, the existing law covers that. That is what our existing law says. And I've said that I would always follow the law. And like I just said, if the people choose to change the law, I will follow that as well.
What about rape and incest? And well, let's go back to that question that was asked of you in that ad when you were cut off with that audio, and you were asked, what about someone who was raped by somebody who was, 14 years old as a victim? Why not allow that person to have an abortion?
I've talked to some other legislators about this, and they've met the same people that I've met who've told their story of once this child knew they were in their second or third trimester. And I am that child, that I've talked to those people who were the child of a rape victim, and the bond that those two people made, and the fact that out of that tragedy, there was healing through that baby. It's something that we don't think about because we assume that story is someone who was taken from the front yard, then returned. That's generally not the story there. And those voices, the babies of rape victims that have come forward are very powerful when you hear their story and what the truth is behind that. It's very hard to not stand up for those people.
But Tudor, what about the voices of the women who, for instance, in mostly, Black communities, for instance, in Detroit, who have a very different story to tell, who actually were victims of rape or incest, and they stand by watching you say that there shouldn't be an exception made in that case, and they say, does she even get what's going on in my neighborhood with me here in Detroit? And do you get that?
You have to remember that Plan B, those options are still there. So when you talk about no options for those people, that's simply not true. Those options are still on the table. I would like to talk about what we can do to come around families in the state of Michigan. There are a lot of states right now that are working on initiatives to make sure it is affordable to raise a family. These are situations that we can bring to the state of Michigan where we are incentivizing businesses to help families, but also making sure that those childcare options are there and that there is no barrier to being a parent.
Tudor Dixon, you've talked a lot about Biden and Whitmer, trying to put the two of them together. Of course, they were very close. They still are close, but trying to kind of take their reputations and their records and mix them together in a sense. If you were to become the governor in the state of Michigan, in the first 6 months in office, what would you do to bring gas prices down?
Well, first of all, I know I would move forward with what we see Line 5 doing. And that right now is I know we're waiting for federal permits right now for that line, but make sure that those lawsuits are stopped as soon as we can, because the governor is trying to raise gas prices by attempting to close Line 5. We also have to figure out unique ways to put money back into the pockets of the people of Michigan. Right now, this country could be energy independent. I would be pushing Joe Biden to go back to energy independence in the United States. And the governors have a lot of say in pushing back on the federal government, but our governor is not doing that. Also, let's look at other unique ways that we can put money back into the pockets of the people of Michigan. And that's already been offered to this governor. She's had twice now that the legislature has come to her with a reduction in income tax, personal income tax. She's vetoed that twice. Why do we continue to see this governor veto any help for the people of the state of Michigan? That's a very disturbing trend, whether it is school help or whether it is help of pocketbook help. She has continually vetoed that.
But when you take a look at, the fix the damn roads, that was what she ran on. That money has to come from somewhere. Had you made a promise like that yourself and you were governor, you'd have to keep that promise and try to pay for it through the state gas tax, right?
And yet she didn't keep that promise, because the roads have not gotten better under Gretchen Whitmer. And that wasn't through she was going to increase the state gas tax by 45 cents after she said while she was campaigning that she would never do that. So if you have a promise while you're campaigning, you should actually have a solution to that. You should actually have a plan to make that promise happen. And this governor didn't. I think people should remember that she did not have a plan to fix the roads, but she told you that she did. Now we're in a situation where our roads are no better, and we see companies leaving because of that. So when you talk to companies across the country, they've been turning away from the state of Michigan because we have infrastructure problems, because she is an overbearing administrative state. Her bureaucracy is hurting businesses. If you look at the two candidates, you have to say, is this person able to actually stick to the promises that they've had on the campaign trail? And you can assure yourself that Gretchen Whitmer has not stuck to her promises.
Tudor, I want to end with this question over here. I know you were pretty vocal about the election in 2020 being stolen. And then you got the endorsement from President Trump, and we haven't heard you say that. In fact, you were on a national news program in which
I would have to argue with you on this, because I have come out very clearly and said that this election was not run properly. And we should all be concerned about that. We should all be concerned about the fact that our Secretary of State had a judge come out and say 2 things in this election were done illegally. That is definitely a concern. If anybody is saying, well, we should just allow the Secretary of State to change the rules and do unlawful things in elections, both sides should be upset.
But, Tudor,
and if it were a Republican Secretary of State, then we would have the same thing on the other side. They would be saying, wait a minute, all of a sudden, all this money came in, went to a nonprofit that was founded by the Secretary of State. She sent out absentee ballot applications. She reduced the signature match. These were all things that she wasn't allowed to do, and yet that happened in the state of Michigan. We should all be outraged by that, and I stand by that.
But Tudor, what about if you become the governor of Michigan and Matt DePerno is the attorney general? Is that where the energy is going to go, into looking at an election from a few years back? Because there's a lot of people who want to move forward from that, and many of them are Republicans too.
I've made it very clear that, and you've seen this, Roop, as I've been out on the campaign trail, made it very clear my energy is in education, because this state is in a declining state for education. We are 38th in the nation, but all of the data shows that we will be in the bottom 5 states in the nation in the next 7 years. And I don't see the governor saying anything about what to do to get our students back on track. I've made it very clear that education is my focus, that safe cities is my focus. We have a real problem with the police officers in this state feeling as though The governor does not have their back. The governor is not supporting them. When she came out and said she supports the spirit of defund the police, we saw police officers leaving the state and retiring out of fear because this governor does not have their back. And I've made it very clear that we would reduce the regulatory state in this state and make sure that businesses want to come here instead of leave here. And that will be my focus. But what about the stolen election? Is that something that we're going to bring into a Tudor Dixon administration? Are we going to be talking about that for a long time? We are going, the news is talking about that. I just told you what we're going to be focused on. Tudor Dixon, running for governor here in the state of Michigan. Always good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us. Again, we've offered Governor Whitmer the same opportunity to talk to us. We are waiting to hear back here on Let It Rip. We'll be back with a look at what our panel thinks about this discussion. That's after this. It's time now to Let It Rip. Again, we have offered up 10 minutes to Governor Gretchen Whitmer, by the way, for an appearance on Let It Rip like we did for Tudor Dixon. We're waiting to hear back. In the meantime, let's get right back to our panel, who all had a chance to see Tudor Dixon just a minute ago. Joining us now is Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, Republican chair of the Oakland County GOP, Rocky Rachkovsky, Detroit News assistant editorial page editor Caitlin Buss, and community activist Reverend Charles Williams. They are all joined by the one and only reporter, anchor, and legal analyst Charlie Langton. We thank you all for joining us. Let's get right into it. First off, with the interview we just saw, Congresswoman, I want to begin with you. You heard Ms. Dixon on the abortion issue, and that ad that we saw Charlie LaDuff on, she says it was taken out of context, cut off. She says she was trying to argue that getting rid of parental consent abortion laws could make it tougher to catch abusers. Isn't that unfair and untrue to use an ad and use audio like that, wouldn't you say?
Look, I very much appreciated having the opportunity to listen to her talk about the issues. I think she was very clear on where she stands on the right of women's health care and the right of women to make their own health care decisions. I disagree with her about whether this will make it more difficult to catch abusers. I think we have other safeguards in the system, but I appreciate her taking the time to talk to you. And I think everybody takes the time to look at listen, they're going to understand exactly how she feels about a woman's being able to make her own personal health care decisions.
But Congresswoman, when we take a look at the war chest and the contrast of money that's being spent here, Governor Whitmer and so many supporters of Governor Whitmer have a lot of money. $4 million, according to that ad, was spent with that Charlie LaDuff ad, in which he's asking a question and she's not finished answering it. Isn't that what's wrong with politics?
Look, I think there are a lot of things that are wrong with politics, and I believe that civility and respect is one of them. I don't approve of ads that are being done on either side at times. I think your interview allowed her to talk about the issues exactly how she feels about them. And I actually don't think the ad really takes out of context how she feels about a woman's ability to make her own decisions about her personal health care.
Reverend Williams, we asked her about rape and incest and where she stands on that. And she talked about the people who are here because they came from conception from rape. Is she taking into account all the African-American women, so many of them who've been disproportionately affected by this issue?
No, absolutely not. To be quite honest with you, I don't think she takes into effect the fact that there are so many young women who have to make the tough decision every day about their bodies and about the decisions that they have to make or that they should make. And quite honestly, to go and for us to overlook the fact that these are tough decisions and that women have the right to make those tough decisions is absolutely ludicrous. And I think that this ballot initiative will show that folks are saying with their mouths and with their votes loud and clear that they want to make sure they protect their right to choose.
Rocky, your thoughts on that? The fact that there are so many minority communities who feel like they're just excluded from the conversation when it comes to white politicians who come out and say this is the way things should be. What about the African-American experience in this abortion talk? We're not hearing a lot of that, are we?
No, but if you look at the polling data of those that are more pro-life, you're starting to find it more in the African-American community. And that's polling data. You know, one of the things that Reverend Williams says that I will agree with is that the proposal that's going to be in front of the voters this November is going to basically decide that issue. And that means every single person that's watching this episode will have a chance to vote on it. So why is this an issue in this campaign if we're going to be voting on this issue in November? I'll tell you why. Because Gretchen Whitmer doesn't want to talk about her record. She doesn't want to talk about opening up strip clubs, but closing down Home Depot or gardening stores and putting us through one of the most draconian lockdowns. And her economic recovery plan is terrible. The fact that she believes in the fact that she believes in tax cuts for school supplies, but doesn't believe in tax cuts for gas when our gas prices are unaffordable is unconscionable. And that's what Governor Whitmer is afraid to go on your show and talk about, Rube. But
well, to be fair, we offered her the opportunity, but many incumbents,
she won't be on.
But many incumbents do not. Many incumbents do not choose to come on television shows when they're running millions of dollars worth of ads because they're the incumbent, and it is often to the advantage of the person who's coming up against an incumbent to make appearances.
That's because she wants to talk about what she wants to talk about, not answering the tough questions like Tudor Dixon has. And my hat's off, just like Debbie said, my hat's off to Tudor Dixon for answering tough questions.
It was important for people to hear from her, and I'm glad that people were. Caitlin, when you hear about Dixon, we know she's making a big announcement tomorrow. Who will be her running mate? Just read your article where you talk about how she has a lot of voices in her ear, some saying, hey, pick someone who is far more right than you are. Is that going to work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, she has had a tough go of it. That primary was, a bit chaotic. It was a bit bitter at points. And, shoring up that support is critical, I guess, right now, but it's not going to be critical very soon. And she needs to pivot really quickly to the general election. I don't know that a candidate from the far right that shores up that support gives her enough of a boost to really win in November. And it honestly just will hurt her chances with moderates and independents. We do know we have verified that her campaign is reaching out to people right now. A lot of people have said no. And so, finding that right person who wants to sign up for that job is not an easy task right now.
Charlie Langton, you and I have sat in this studio here in Studio A many of times with Perry Johnson, with Chief James Craig, and we asked them point blank, even when the cameras weren't rolling, hey, would you consider being someone's running mate? What are your thoughts on a running mate? How important and how much does that figure into whether or not voters are going to vote for somebody?
I think that's a small factor. I think a running mate probably is going to be one that's going to raise money. One that's going to really help the ticket, help the campaign. I think it's the candidate. We're voting for the candidate. I think the running mate will play a small role. I think you need someone that's well-known, somebody that's got connections to money, someone perhaps in a perfect world that may have some legislative experience, because Lieutenant Governor does do some legislative experience. You want to pick up a little bit of what Tudor Dixon doesn't have, which is the legislature. I mean, if you look at, some of the past governors, you need someone who's got some experience in the legislature. But again, I think in this race, I think money is going to count for a lot. I don't know if there's anybody more right than Tudor Dixon. I don't know that. I think she does need, though, to pick up, if she can, with a running mate, if that helps. Someone a little bit moderate, a little more moderate conservative would be good for the ticket. But I still think it's the name of the game at this point is going to be money. And can this person raise enough money and the nomination should get a little media boost too, if the person is well known. I think that would help a lot.
Congresswoman Dingell, you heard what Tudor Dixon said about the roads. Governor Whitmer says 13,000 lane miles have been fixed up, but many people who drive around our parts will say, hey, this road plan of yours simply isn't working. Is Tudor right to say that this isn't working out the way the governor wanted?
No, I don't think that's a fair thing. I think it's taken a while to get the money that we're putting into the roads to fix them right now. And none of us is happy when we are stuck behind those orange cones. But I'm very proud of the fact that we did pass the infrastructure bill at the national level, which is putting very needed money into fixing our roads and bridges. Significant bridge repairs are happening, and I think that we are seeing what's needed to happen. And by the way, it's taken too long. It's taken decades, Republican administrations and Democratic administrations, to get where we are today, and it's finally happening.
If I could just jump right behind Debbie on that. I mean, let's be real here. It's March 2020, March 13, 2020. We the world shut down, the country shut down. I mean, this governor has been barreling through a pandemic. I don't think we need to minimize the fact that folks was just dropping dead left and right. Friends, my friend Isaac Robinson dropped dead, former state representative. I mean, let's be honest here. We've been dealing with folks with trying to figure out whether we should wear masks, whether we should vaccinate, whether we shouldn't vaccinate. Some folks wanted to take horse pills. I mean, this is the world we were in for almost 2.5 years. And so, you know, to try to go back on did we get the roads done? Did we keep people alive? I think that really is the question. And that's going to be the question in this campaign. It's going to be where the rubber is going to meet the road for whether you get folks out in southeastern Michigan, where you get the folks out in Detroit, particularly black folks who were dealing with health disparities all over this country in regards to being challenged by coronavirus at higher rates than others.
I'm glad you brought that up, because when you talk about the record of keeping people alive, putting people in nursing homes that were infected with COVID is going to be laced around her, because she did that, just like Andrew Cuomo did in New York. So keeping people alive, she didn't do a very good job of that.
Yeah, I mean, the same way that the same exact way that I'm gonna respond to that.
Hold on, Rocky.
The same exact way.
One moment, Rocky. One moment. Let Reverend Williams respond.
You made a point.
I respond to that, and we'll get you right back. Hold on. One second.
The same, Reverend. This one point you talked about.
You're making points.
Hearing me out. You talked about
after point after point after point. It doesn't matter.
Reverend Williams, you can keep talking, and nobody's going to hear you, because I'm not going to let go of this. You talked about roads. If you recall, the road construction didn't stop during the COVID. The state actually doubled down on it, and she was the one that went to the Chamber of Commerce, the convention up in Mackinac, and said, I never promised to fix the roads, because she knew that she was failing miserably.
All of this
not letting go.
Reverend Williams, go ahead. I want Reverend Williams point out what you were going to say about the health of people. Reverend Williams,
absolutely.
You said that talk about that for a moment.
Look, I think not letting go is a challenge the Republicans have, especially when you talk about the election. But nevertheless, if you go to Florida and if you go to places like Texas where they did not have mask mandates, places like Montana, right, where they were staunchly against mask mandates and vaccinating. I think you could ask the thousands of dead people there if they would have rather had a governor that would have said it's important to wear a mask, and it's important to make sure that you're vaccinated, and it's important to make sure that we put together the correct public health response to make sure that folks are taken care of.
I want to get the topic of President Trump, former President Trump, in here. Let's get to Caitlin Buss with this one. Caitlin, I want to ask you about what's going on right now. The rift in this country is deep, and no one can argue that right now. And even folks at Fox News, the network, went on television and insisted that President Trump lower the temperature of the conversation that's happening. Is that working? Is that happening, Caitlin?
Ooh, I don't think it's happening, and I don't necessarily think that's any one person's fault. I think Trump was much more a symptom of our disunity than the cause of it necessarily. I think he expressed what was kind of already there, but he certainly ramped it up. I think what you're seeing now is just these issues are really motivating people. I mean, none of what we've been talking about even touches inflation, which is reportedly the number one issue for people. I mean, they are really ramped up about some of these things. I think you're going to see the rhetoric die down a little bit, but the more Trump gets involved, the more it will stir the passions on each side.
Congresswoman, a little bit about that right now. You travel from Washington to Michigan. You're getting a good pulse of what's going on. Is President Trump playing victim, helping his cause and those who he endorses?
I want to go broader than this, which is to say every one of us, I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat, needs to worry about what's happening in this country. We are being pitted against each other. We are being divided with fear and hatred. When we see people attacking law enforcement, when we see them going after the FBI, when we see people murdering each other, threatening each other, and it's happening everywhere. It doesn't matter. People get threatened if you're a grocery store clerk. You get threatened if you're a waiter or a waitress. All of us get threatened in different ways. It's not okay. Our democracy's in trouble. I think President Trump has put kerosene on it. I think we should all worry that we had classified, top secret nuclear secrets not being stored where they needed to be. But we need to take a bigger look at what we're doing to each other. This is the United States of America.
We're going to continue this conversation on the other side of the break with some final thoughts as Congresswoman Dingell left us with that thought. What does the panel think about that? We'll get a taste of that when we come back after this. Thoughts? Let's go to Caitlin.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot of anger out there in the electorate. I think it will be interesting. People are going to want answers on inflation, and Whitmer and Dixon are both going to have to answer that, as well as abortion.
Charlie Langton.
I agree. There's a lot of anger out there, and generally when there's anger, people vote. But I think that you're going to have to get who's going to get the most votes out? Democrats, Republicans. We'll see.
Reverend Williams.
Grocery, gas, justice, and jobs. That's going to move Southeastern Michigan. It's going to move Detroit. Whoever's talking about that, they're going to expect to get a good turnout from African Americans in Detroit.
Rocky.
That person who's talking about that is Tudor Dixon. I encourage everybody to check out her website at tudordixon.com. Get to know Tudor Dixon, and I think you'll have a great governor.
Congresswoman Dingell and the whole crew, we thank you for joining us in this edition of Let It Rip.